Hey there, good evening. Nice to see you. It's time for the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters and writers and editors, journalists, all different people who are putting stuff out so we can kind of make sense of what's going on in our borough of the Bronx, of course, the city of New York. And in our second segment today, we're going to be at the Bronx River Art Center, and you're going to meet somebody who has done amazing work for more than 25 years. But right now, let's go to, we were talking about journalists. Here's a top flight journalist. It is our buddy Reuven Blau. Nice to see you, Reuven. He's a reporter for City with a special focus on the criminal justice and the city's prison system. Maybe it's a little too early to talk about the prison system as regards the mayor of the city of New York, but he's a little closer maybe than he was. Let's see, Justice Department unsealed 57-page indictment that accused Mr. Adams of bribery, conspiracy, fraud, and soliciting illegal foreign campaign donations from the Turkish government. Everybody around him seems to be, all your empty-handed armies are all going home, as Bob Dylan sang. What do you make of this? Is there any way to get our arms around how significant this is? That the first time the mayor of the city of New York is being indicted.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate always
of
love
course.
coming on. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just a historical moment in the city, in the city's history. I mean, we've had some, pretty crooked mayors in the past, but it's never gotten to this point. They've typically either resigned or left kind of right before these kind of moments. And this case comes from the Southern District, the Manhattan federal prosecutor, and clearly it's something they've been working on for a long time since he was. It dates back to literally to 2015 when he was Brooklyn Borough president, and he began to have a relationship with this sort of Turkish government, and they started offering him free trips and other which ended up translating into donations, and then kind of straw donors, which is essentially donors that are given smaller donations are matched by the city's public campaign finance board. So they kind of pretended that these small donations were coming in, but really kind of were backed up by these kind of larger larger entities from the kind of with Turkish ties.
So as the general public, you try to measure what gee whiz, is this like a fraudulent or is it a political hit? But the things that tie it together, they say that he went to lengths to conceal the alleged schemes by using encrypted messages. He deleted messages. There was a false paper trail that was compelling. It starts to sound like it's very hard to defend. And it just happened today, folks. We're recording this on Tuesday, October 1st. I saw in the Daily News today that Antonio Reynoso, the current borough president who succeeded Eric Adams, said he was offered a similar deal by the Turkish government, but he turned it down because he said, well, it's not really legal for me to do that. I'm really, frankly, out of words that this has gone down. It seems so significant.
Yeah, I mean, you cited the Reynoso story, and that's fascinating. One of the elements that really captured my attention with that piece was he apparently went to the city's kind of office of immigration and they and the FBI as well. Like they had some meeting, and they told him, hey, look, you shouldn't accept gifts from foreign entities, including from Turkey, in part because they could be including recording devices. And then he apparently went back and checked all his devices, all his gifts, and kind of made sure that wasn't the case. So I mean, yeah, and I think there's this clear demarcation of like how different people in that office have handled it. But interestingly, his predecessor, Eric Adams' predecessor, Marty Markowitz, did take trips himself, and then kind of got into some trouble there as well. Nothing to this extent, but one of the things also that like has come out is that you talk about like him using encrypted messages. I mean, he's also lied to the media about where he's gone, when he's gone, and how these are being paid for. Like whenever being questioned by the by members of the press, he's always said, "Oh, I'm paying for this. It's coming out of my own pocket." And it's clearly there was a discounted rate, and some of the stuff wasn't paid for at all. I mean, we're seeing this just not an honest response from him over the years about these sort of trips. And in his defense, he's talking about kind of the larger issue. His lawyer had a press conference yesterday, and essentially like the way I didn't cover it, a colleague of mine, Greg Smith, was there, and the way he described it was just like him throwing everything at the wall and hoping, kind of something sticks. And
Something would
apparently,
stick.
I mean, he said as far as like the straw donors, it's a smaller number compared to, his total, campaign collections. And he's also arguing that he didn't know about it, and, that it was really his campaign staff that was responsible for checking these things out. He's arguing as far as the trips go that, this is sort of a normal thing politicians do, including, kind of politicians in the federal government. Although, federal politicians have very strict rules about how they can handle, like seat upgrades even. So, there really isn't a specific correlation, and it really is kind of arguing, something that's going to have to be, taken over in court, essentially.
Well, obviously, you and I are not going to adjudicate this this case. But another thing which just seems so crazy. Listen, it's horrible. I wouldn't want anybody to take my cell phone, and I don't believe I have any criminal activity on there, but I don't want him to know.
Yeah.
But then allegedly, he could not remember the passcode to his phone to unlock it. Every one of us, has one of these things, and okay, I gotta reset the phone. I gotta, of course, your passcode. How could you not know? I mean, that kind of stuff is it really is like is petty, but it certainly suggests that he is thinks he's over the line. The other thing that connects it to say, okay, well, you took money. But apparently the Turkish government got some waivers when it came to safety and other concerns for their embassy, that they were building an embassy, and they were like, and I don't know the details of that, but apparently, the city kind of looked the other way at some of the considerations for that. That gets really scary. That means that, in essence, it not only did he accept the gifts, but he returned the favor.
Yeah, I mean, and then according to the federal indictment, that those zoning permits were done, on multiple folds where they were skipping the line, right? There's a huge kind of backlog, especially during COVID. I think it was kind of during that period. And there's always a backlog even, without that, but so they skipped the line. But on top of it, like the fire officials had told them, hey, look, we don't think it's not up to par. Like, we don't want to sign off on this because it's actually not legitimately going to pass. And he insisted on that being so. I mean, his lawyer is
Wow.
saying, look, he was borough president at the time. He wasn't head of the FDNY. He wasn't the mayor. So how can you argue that there was a quid pro quo when he didn't have the power, essentially? And they're arguing to make that happen. They're also arguing that the Turkish official who gave him the tickets was a different Turkish official who asked him for this favor. So there's not like a direct correlation. I mean, these are arguments obviously that he's going to be making in court.
Well, he can make them in court, and then, of course, a jury of his peers will figure that out. The next aspect of this, I got two more aspects of this. One is all the people who are resigning. I mean, what was it? Timothy Pearson, the former NYPD captain and a close ally of the mayor, has resigned, and the chancellor. Now that was interesting. David Banks, his family seems to be involved. He doesn't seem to be directly involved, but he said that he was going to leave at the end of the year anyway, and he's going to stay on for a couple of months to finish out, that term. Do you believe that, or do you think that he was like, I think he just got married or engaged, whatever? I don't follow his romantic life, but do you believe that he was going to resign anyway, and he just said, well, I may as well announce it now with everybody else?
I mean, it's suspect. Here's what I mean with the star, right? This stuff happens, the cell phone gets seized, all these raids start happening, and then suddenly, he's announcing this. I've covered City Hall and including city agencies for about 20 years now. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen kind of the top levels of government, including the NYPD commissioner, his law department head, his chief counsel, who just announced a new person, but just the inner kind of his entire inner staff, that really kind of make the city run, is no longer, has resigned in large part after raids on houses. You talk about Banks, you've got Mayor Tashina Wright, who's one of the deputy mayors, and
That's
and there's
right.
there's a story about how legally that means that there's like a level of protection regarding you can't testify, you're not obligated to testify against a spouse in a criminal case, and they're arguing,
Oh,
hey, look, we have
I
this right
forgot about
all the
that. That's
time.
fascinating. Yeah.
But I mean, that really, you talk about, I don't know, like I can't tell you if that's the reason or not, but like it definitely I do know that indicates that there's just a tremendous amount of smoke around his inner staff as well.
Well, let's see. I don't know the exact numbers. We've got 8 million people who are residents of New York City. And now they see, we got changes at the top of the police. There were some other people in the fire department. I don't have the list in front of me of all the people who have abandoned ship. What happens now in New York City government? And do you have a sense of how this might affect, I don't know, the vote on City of Yes or any of the other obvious vital things going on that happen every minute of every day in the city of New York?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, and I think everyone's really holding their breath to see what happens next. The mayor just did a press conference today. He does like once a week. He takes questions from the media on Tuesdays and insisted, hey, look, I can walk and chew gum at the same time. I can handle my private affairs and run the city. You know, but at the same time, there are multiple vacancies and multiple other kind of investigations swirling around his former top officials. So it's really hard
Yeah.
to say like how some of the stuff moves forward or doesn't. We did a story talking to city workers about what's going on
Yes,
just on the
that's
ground
right.
level, and somebody in the NYPD told me that it's a mess. It's like it's beyond totally chaotic, and everything's kind of in a standstill. The other agency people said, hey, look, we're just going to move forward with this.
So you've got things like, okay, so I mentioned the big things like City of Yes, which is obviously a huge program, a huge initiative, but then things will happen. Crime certainly, and other things could certainly happen. I mean, we know that there's war out there in the rest of the world. You never know what's going to happen here. How fit is, and I know you don't have the answer to this, how fit is the New York City government to respond to, who knows, any number of things that certainly could happen in our city of New York? When someone gets elected, they spend their time before they take office, between, let's say, November and the first of the year, putting together a staff so then they can, hit the ground running. Now you're in the middle of things going on, and staffs are out there, and people are new in positions. I don't know. I'm really don't have an answer to it. Do you have a sense of which way it's going to go, or at this point, let's watch what happens?
I
We're
mean, I think
almost out of
it's
time, so I want to just get.
yeah, very quickly say it's truly unprecedented times. I think if you're a supporter of Eric Adams, I think you have to say like it's been a good Monday and Tuesday. We're talking, we are talking about it still, but he's around, and the calls have it hasn't been kind of a daily call for his resignation. So I
Well,
think at
it's
the very
out
least he's
there. I
weathering the
mean, we'll
initial
see.
storm. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the very least
Listen,
he's weathered the initial storm.
this is why we need people like you, Reuven Blau, from the city. Please check out thecity.org, right? That's the website. And
It's
we need you.
NYC.
The city.nyc, you're correct. Thank
Yeah.
you. But listen, we really
Thank you
need
so
you,
much.
and thank you for your reporting. And I'm guessing we're going to get you back here when we find out more. We
Appreciate it.
appreciate your
Always
time.
happy to join. Thank
Great.
you.
We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to the Bronx River Art Center, where we have there's a new director coming, and somebody who's been there for 25 years will no longer be there. We'll talk to her in a minute. Don't go away. Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. I am very happy because a very good friend of mine, a longtime friend of mine, has found her freedom. She is no longer going to be the executive director of the Bronx River Art Center, and she is Gail Nathen. And it is nice to see you any time of day. And welcome to the Bronx Buzz, Gail.
Thank you. Glad to be
Nice
here.
to have you with us. And you brought
One more time. maybe.
One more. Well, you never know.
One more.
You do something
Yeah.
spectacular, we'll have you back. And
Yeah.
my buddy and neighbor, because she lives right near me, but she is a resident artist over there at the Bronx River Art Center. It is Maya Ciarrochi. Nice to see you, Maya.
Hi, Gary. Hi,
Nice to
Gail.
have you. Let's start with you, Gail. Start and finish with you, Gail. Let's see, there's going to be a gala on, let's see, I got the date, is Wednesday, October 16th. Very, very exciting. There is going to be all kinds of the music. Papo Vasquez will be there and other people. Gail, how do you feel knowing that after 25 plus years at the Bronx River Art Center, you're not going to have to wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, I got to go to work today." How are you feeling right now after getting to this point?
I feel good. I feel comfortable. That's a funny word to associate with this kind of moment, but I really feel comfortable. I love what I do. I love what I did for the art center. I really did work my tail off. Everybody knows that. But it's the relationship between the art center and my personal practice has always been melded together. And so I don't feel that it's, that nasty word retirement. I'm not ready.
I know you
for
didn't
that.
want me to. That notice I didn't use it. I said you found your freedom.
Right, freedom. But it is. It's not so much even being breaking away to freedom. It's just being able to shift the balance some and really get the practice more solid again. But looking back, and I'm doing a lot of looking back, I've been working in relationship to community all the way back into the early 70s. Wow. When I worked at the Bronx Museum.
So I remember, as you know, I've been with you a number of times. I remember the days when you had to really work like crazy to find space and to run programs, and you did it nonetheless, despite not having the beautiful building that you have now. Did you ever get discouraged and say, "Oh goodness, we're never going to be able to find real space"? I mean, I think you worked in the community board offices. There were other. I believe there was another reception in another home somewhere. I mean, we did all kinds of things.
We did great things. We installed at the Bronx Music Heritage Center for a half a year, or maybe even a whole year. We were at Bronx Art Space originally for a couple of years. We shared Bronx Art Space's beautiful gallery for a couple years. When it turned out that we were going to be out of our building for longer than we thought, we had to pull out of that. But one of my favorite places was when we were at the Italian Banquet Hall in Arthur Avenue, thanks to Mike Tracy of the bid, or the Arthur Avenue bid, and he just let us go in there. And
Gail, I'm applauding because your commitment to knowing that this was the right thing to do, that we have to get this done, that arts is the center of the soul of the borough of the Bronx. It didn't matter where, as long as you were getting it done. Now, I will tell you this, and maybe you remember this. You and I were doing an interview before the big new building over there in West Farms was opened, and you were frustrated because the city wasn't doing what it needed to do. And you and I were standing in front, and a woman and her son came by, and she said, "When are you going to open this building? We need programs for our kids." And I think after we did that little story, the city took heed and made it happen. So a $15 million capital renovation.
Right. And it's, it was tricky because reality, and I didn't realize this until we started moving back in, is that because we were out so long, 8 years, all the kids we had coming had grown up. and left and went to college.
So you had to start again. Listen, I want to just show some stuff. You had sent us some pictures to show, And so Anderson, roll some of these pictures of Gail's. We took a couple. So these are paintings that you have done?
Yeah, these are gouaches on paper. Most of them. There's one picture that's on canvas. But these are the sorts of things I've been doing while I'm, waiting to the big transition to go back onto canvas.
These are beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I put these up for sale too in the art auction. Now that's a big painting.
How much? Well, let me just ask you.
Gary,
go ahead, you can finish what you're saying. Go ahead.
So this painting is called Time Bomb Growing Up in the Bronx. And it's a very big painting because I was born and raised in the South Bronx on 49th Street and near Yankee Stadium, actually. Right. So this picture, it's big, and I think we're going to install it in our event space for the party.
Right. That was that party that we were just talking about on October 16th.
Yeah, the gala, right.
Gail, I know you will congratulate Maggie Greenfield, who at least is the interim executive director, and many people know from the Bronx River Alliance, but now she's moving to the Bronx River Art Center. So we will need to do that. I want to bring Maya Ciarrochi in. Maya, you are a resident artist. Now, I wasn't aware of that. You do your artwork. You have a studio in the Bronx River Art Center. Is that what I'm to understand?
Yes, I have the honor and the privilege to have a beautiful studio on the 3rd floor of the Bronx River Art Center, amongst some other artists there, and I've been there a year.
And what has having that studio done for you and your creativity and your art, and of course being in that community, I'm sure is very, very special.
Well, I'll say first and foremost that having for a visual artist to have a studio is critical. And studios are hard to come by, and they are extremely expensive, as is all real estate in New York City. So the studio program at Bronx River Art Center is an incredible asset for artists because it is subsidized, and so our rents are very low, and it's a great amount of space. It's beautifully kept.
And I want to just add the notion of being in a community like that, as opposed to if you were to just rent a studio, well, that's nice. But here you're surrounded with people, and I'm sure it stimulates.
Absolutely.
I go like this, but it's mostly this stuff that it stimulates.
Sometimes it's this.
Yeah. So before we run out of time, I want to show some of your stuff, and then we're going to talk about the big event to celebrate Gail's work. So let's just show a couple of things that Maya has done, and what just explain what these are that you're working on.
So this is a performance I'm working on. I had a work in progress sort of rehearsal period in Poland this summer, and I made those garments from patterns of my artwork. So that's an ongoing project.
Great.
Too complicated to explain at the moment, but
let's Anderson, let's keep it going. Here's some.
So these are, I've been working in textiles lately. So these are actually needle points. This one took about 6 months to make. So
and how large is that? If you see it,
it's 20 inches by 18 inches. So kind of large for needlepoint.
I was going to say that's a lot of. Let's keep going. We got a couple more to show.
Same.
So these are all needle points. Wow.
Yeah.
You must have some patience. Now, do you design the needlepoint? I'm assuming you don't buy ready-made patterns.
No, so it's I actually make a painting on the needlepoint canvas, and then so it is a little, after I make the painting, then I get to follow and make up the pattern and the colors.
And of course, the texture is phenomenal. And look at these. It's funny, when I saw them first, I said, wow, these are beautiful paintings. I didn't realize they were needle points. The texture must be beautiful. How large is this one, for example?
Same thing. This one's 18 by 20. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a very, very good size.
And this is a cyanotype, which I've been making cyanotypes for a number of years, but these are all, I've been thinking about abstraction, but also organic shapes mixed with more architectural and artificial landscapes.
Do you paint and work every day?
Oh, I wish. I have to have a day job too.
I was
So
going to say you have to have like a real life. All right, so let's just go back to the 16th. Gail, it's probably going to be very exciting to you. By the way, for people who want to purchase tickets, I've got it here. It's bronxriverart.org/gala, and you can purchase tickets for this October 16th, 7 o'clock reception. Gail, how are you going to feel that night?
Oh, I'm going to party I can't say it. I'm going to party my butt off. No,
I mean, really, that's what you're going to do?
No.
I don't think I've ever seen you do that. I've known you all these years. I don't think I've ever seen you do that.
You haven't? Oh, well, you've
Maybe
missed
I have.
it.
Maybe I don't know you as well as I think I do. Well, that's great. And you were pretty excited about getting Papo Vasquez to be there. Yeah, that is.
A lot of the people that I've invited to do specific things are people who have a history with the Art Center and me.
Right.
And Papo, I met actually when we did a project funded by the Rockefeller Brothers to support musician composers to create living musician composers to create new works. And we did, I got connected to Papo, we selected him, and he wrote an incredible piece called River Rising, Subo El Rio. And it's a fantastic piece, which unfortunately is recorded because he did it for a full orchestra.
You always understood the relationship between art and music, putting a grand piano in the Bronx River Art Center and making it a concert space and everything else. I will just read this right off of the website. For 25 years, Gail Nathen has been the heart and soul of the Bronx River Art Center as its executive director. Her tenure has had a profound impact on both Bronx River Art Center and the Bronx community, guiding the Art Center through trials and triumphs with unwavering dedication. And I think that is the way I want to conclude this segment. Mazel tov, congratulations. The 16th is going to be a beautiful night at the Bronx River Art Center, which of course where it should be. And again, it is bronxriverart.org/gala for tickets. Maya, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep doing it. You're going to still be there. She might not, but you're going to have to keep going.
And I'll be there because I'm in my studio. I do stay as a studio artist in the.
So you'll be there too. So they're not getting rid of you. All right. Anything else, real quick, because we got to go.
It's a super moon on the. It's actually the 17th, but it's early in the morning on the 17th. So the 16th is going to have a super moon rising.
And we'll be on the rooftop. You can see that. All right, we got to go. Thank you all for joining us. And that will do it for the Bronx Buzz. And as we always say, if the curtain don't fall and the creek don't rise, we'll be back next week.